So is it a spray, I guess?
This is way before cell phones, man. This is the start of cell phones right here. You guys want to see the origination of wherever you guys are in your pocket.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve, and I am here with my good pal, Mr. Gopher. Say hi, Mr. Gopher.
Hi, Mr. Gopher.
So for this week's video, I'm going to just do a little wrap-up of interesting records that I found in this month of July in the year of our Lord 2024. Yeah, kind of some meat and potatoes, rock and blues, and yeah, just kind of stuff here and there. So let's just get to it. This first record I'm going to show for my July finds, Get Ready by Rare Earth. And Rare Earth were signed to Motown. They were going to branch out into some rock bands. And this is not their first album. They made a record for Verve Records before this, which I don't have. But this has been a gap in my collection because this is usually the one everybody starts with, because it's got the 20-minute jam of Get Ready. It takes up the entire second side of the record. Feeling All Right, Train to Nowhere, Tobacco Road, pretty cool version of Tobacco Road, almost as good as Eric Burdon and War's version. Nice fuzz guitar, nice organ. I almost didn't pick this up because it kind of looks like it was played with a bad needle, but it sounds totally fine. Again, if the funky early 70s stylings of Rare Earth are something new to you, I would suggest this CD, Millennium Collection Best Of, because they are not afraid to rock the long jams. It's got the 20-minute Get Ready, it's got the 10-minute I Know I'm Losing You, and it's got the 17-minute version of Ma on there. Werner Müller and his orchestra, International Film Festival. I saw this in a thrift store, and I used to have this. I used to play the Saturday night and Sunday morning theme when I used to DJ at a bar. Theme songs from foreign movies. You can file it in your movie soundtracks, but there's some Fellini, a little bit of everything in here. That's a goodie. Elvin Bishop Group. You might know Elvin Bishop from Fool Around and Fell in Love, or from the Butterfield Blues Band. But this is the Elvin Bishop Group on Fillmore Records. You get Fillmore Records into your collections. And this is, I was talking about in previous videos when I was talking about bands like Pacific Gas and Electric, and how there were a lot of early 70s like rock blues bands that had a heavy gospel music influence, and this is one of them. They've got guest appearances by the Pointer Sisters and members of Santana. And it's just a good, groovy, gospel-influenced rock blues record. Yes. All right. Joe South's Introspect. Joe South, he had a big hit, games people play. He also did the original version of Hush that Deep Purple did. And this was kind of a score because this was in the bargain bin, you know, alongside some kind of beat up original copies. And this is the 2017 reissue of this album. So yeah, they did a nice job with the label. The only difference, barcode. All right, this is something that takes me back. The Bobs. Were they from? Well, the address here is El Cerrito. But the Bobs were an a cappella group from the early 80s. Kind of in Dr. Demento territory. They did this really whacked out version of Helter Skelter, and I had a 7-inch of that. And I saw in the thrift store an entire album of the Bobs a cappella stylings. And it's just kind of a cool little thing to have. Scruffy the Cat. Scruffy the Cat was a band from, I believe, from Boston in the 80s. This record's from 1987. And if you're familiar with that indie rock bar band kind of sound of the mid to late 80s, these guys nail it, you know. Just tight, streamlined, 3-minute long rock songs on the Relativity label. And yeah, this is a goodie. My baby, she's all right. Yeah. The Scorpions. Animal Magnetism by the Scorpions. And the Scorpions was one of those bands that for a while I just kind of wrote them off. It was like, you know, when I was in high school, it's like, oh, that's what the assholes listen to. Whatever. But I did come to appreciate them, partly from being a big fan of UFO, and of course, Michael Schenker from UFO. He was on the Scorpions' first album, and Michael's brother, Rudolf Schenker, plays the guitars in the Scorpions. And yeah, just, you know, the high-pitched singing with the German accent, that's kind of the roots of a lot of the screaming heavy metal of the 80s. This is a later pressing with this label. Again, looks a little dinged up, but plays totally fine. This is another bargain bin thingy. Compilation album. Came out in France. I'm not going to try to pronounce this, but it's a solid collection of early rock and roll songs, you know. It's got Mother-in-Law by Ernie K. Doe. It's got Baba Uma Mau Mau, Baba Uma Mau Mau, Blueberry Hill, Love Potion number 9, Surf City, Gene McDaniels, The Easy Beats. This is, you know, that's on Sunset Records. Sunset. Utopia. Todd Rundgren's Utopia. Oops, Wrong Planet. Now, when I was a kid, I used to make a lot of tapes off of the radio, which are mostly lost to having a limited amount of tapes and recording over them. But I recorded a King Biscuit Flower Hour concert of Todd Rundgren's Utopia, and now I know which album has most of the songs I liked from that Trapped, Love in Action. Good stuff. Good stuff. Utopia was kind of the prog rock Todd Rundgren thing. In between making solo records where he played all the instruments, he would make records where he jammed out with these guys. And this one is from 1977. A lot of people lean towards like the 30-minute long song album, but this is a solid collection of tunes. All right. Anthology of British Blues on the Immediate label. And where you see Eric Clapton. This is, if you're familiar with this Guitar Boogie album, collection of mostly instrumental tracks. This was the stuff that Clapton and Page and Jeff Beck recorded for Immediate Records, and those songs originally were filler tracks on these compilation albums. But this is a good one. It's got I'm Your Witch Doctor by John Mayall, and it's got some early Savoy Brown, and it's just a nice British rock blues record. Yes. While we're on rock blues, Johnny Winter, The Progressive Blues Experiment. I had this one on CD because I've never seen a vinyl copy of this that was not destroyed. And I found a CD. It was reissued on CD around the time I was working at Tower Records. But yeah, early Johnny Winter from like 1967 here. Winter is hard and heavy in the hypnotic blues bag. Before the recording session, there was Johnny Winter and his guitar. During the session, Johnny became the guitar. Yes.
Yeah, this was supposed to be an unboxing video. A viewer, who is also a good friend of mine from a while back, sent me a package in the mail, and it turned out to be a KMEL t-shirt with their old original logo and Rockin' the Bay. If you're in the Bay Area, you know KMEL. In the late 70s, early 80s, they were a rock station, and then they changed format. They're still going now. Now they're a hip-hop station. In both cases, pretty groundbreaking. I mean, as far as commercial radio, definitely innovative radio station. And I was pretty stoked to get this t-shirt in the mail. So I enjoy the processed video with effects and the music, and we'll be back.
Oh no, you can't leave yet. You gotta have a nice cup of tea with me.
Okay, well, here's one I totally spaced out on. I spaced out on it when I was doing my videos about the duplicate copies of the same record. And I also spaced out on this when I did the video about female artists. So I'm going to talk about now Heart Magazine. Why I have two copies of this record. They were on kind of an indie label, this Mushroom Records, and they got signed to a bigger label, and they still owed Mushroom Records, another album. And they released this without the band's consent or anything. They released this album, and they went to court over it, and their argument, Heart's argument, was these were just unfinished demos. This is not really an album. And the ruling was, well, finish it then. So they went in the studio, redid some vocal parts, had some more overdubs, and made it a little more professional sounding, and re-released it. So there are two different versions of this album, and here is how you can tell. Okay, so the first version, the order of the songs, the second track on the first side is Without You. Mushroom Records regrets that a contractual dispute has made it necessary to complete this record without the endorsement of the group, etc., etc. And there are noticeable differences, different vocal takes, and again, the different order of the songs. The redone version, that's kind of the official version. No disclaimer. And you look at side one, the second song is Devil Delight. This is a pretty good album. There's a nice live blues jam on it, and Heartless and Devil Delight. They're pretty solid songs. And covers of Without You, and I Got the Music in Me. Alright, this one I was really surprised that I found this. This is Tax Free. They are Dutch. Tax Free is Wally Tax from the 60s band The Outsiders. The Dutch Outsiders, because there were several bands called The Outsiders. But Tax Free is a very laid-back, introspective, acoustic kind of thing. Just want to digress and show this. This is very cool. This is the very best of the Outsiders CD, and actually a friend of mine went to Holland and said, "Oh, you want me to get you anything while I'm in Holland?" And I said, "Yeah, find me some Outsiders." And so she brought me this very best The Outsiders album ever. It's got 18 of their 60s hits. I guess it costs 7.99 euros at Play-Doh. Even says 60s on the sticker. But yeah, this is a pretty solid collection. The Outsiders also made this epic record called CQ. Kind of a concept album. I don't know, but this is a 2001 reissue on the Pseudonym Records label. Yeah, got this back in the day. Essential European 60s garage. But back to Tax Free. Very, very laid back and acoustic, contemplative kind of record. Again, with some notable guests, such as John Cale on viola and Richard Davis on bass, who played on the greatest album ever made. He also played on Astral Weeks, which is kind of a similar vibe to Tax Free. But Richard Davis played on the greatest album ever made, Out to Lunch by Eric Dolphy. Masterpiece of avant-garde jazz from 1964 with Bobby Hutcherson, Tony Williams, Freddie Hubbard. And this is one of those records that's just kind of a litmus test, you know. If you play it for somebody and they think it's just a bunch of racket and they hate it, you know that they have limited capacity in their scope of music, and you know not to take anything they say too seriously. Stop. 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 Stop.
And there we have it. Another Stereo Steve video on the YouTubes. And I hope you enjoyed it, found it entertaining enough to get this far. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that kind of stuff if you're so inclined. Always gives me a little dopamine to know that I've stimulated some thought. Anyway, if you're new here, I appreciate you. If you've been here for a while, I appreciate you just as much. And if you're new here, you know, watch some of my other videos. They might be better than this, or they might be worse than this. Anyway, peace. Bye.